Welcome to the Ultrahuman experience. This session is free for you for the complete experience. Please download the Ultrahuman app.
Oh, hello. Would you like to sit with me? I am Rick, and I'm here on vacation. I know what you mean about taking a break from the monotonous life of much work and little play. But I actually love taking my job with me wherever I go. You see, I am a weather reporter, and the joy I derive from the natural world around me, constant in its ever-changing essence, is unparalleled. Every raindrop, every ray of sunshine, every cloud delights me. Good evening. Welcome to Bedtime Stories. Tonight, I'd like to take you away from the humdrum of life and away from work for a little vacation. When was the last time you paused and enjoyed the sun-kissed weather? Or a hot cup of cocoa while watching the rainfall outside? Observing and enjoying the natural world around us is the most beautiful, relaxing experience. Everything about the weather is delightful. Take today, for instance. It is the kind of golden day that comes around once in a while, when the only thing you have to do is to sit back and enjoy. Sunny and bright, it's not too hot on the beach, but warm enough that wading in the water is a relief. The rush of the waves breaking back and forth over the soft pale gold sand is a quiet, peaceful backdrop to the day, one that almost blends into the background the longer you listen to it. The surf is light and playful this morning. Sunlight bounces off the blue water, fading into aqua as it approaches the shore, then turning clear, light green in the shallowest sandbanks. Spiral seashells, pale pink and tan, tumble in the white foam lapping the sand. Higher up in the dunes behind me is a jungle of sea grape trees with broad, flat, green leaves and flexible light brown wood. A light breeze rustles amongst the trees and skims the tops of the waves, like a lady in a gondola, running the tips of her fingers delicately through the surface of the water. A big white bird soars high above the waves, gently cruising, not needing to flap its black-tipped wings at all. Back on the ground, a little white ghost crab clacks his tiny claws on top of his sand dune kingdom, in defiance of anyone that might consider him a tasty lunch. He seizes a little pebble, small and white like his shell, and then disappears back down into his hidey hole. A flock of tiny sandpiper birds, speckled brown and gray, run up on their short, skinny legs and take his place. I watch all of this contentedly, my eyes half shut, shaded from the sunlight by my wide-brimmed straw hat. I'm sprawled lazily underneath a big beach umbrella, half of me in the shade, the other half soaking up the early afternoon sun. My toes dig into the sand, sifting through the cool grains beneath the warm surface. Frosty pina colada in hand, I take a long, satisfied sip. The glass is cool against my palm, the drink sweet, tangy, and creamy in my mouth. Looking out at the horizon beyond the vast blue-green sea is so relaxing. Watching them trickle and flow off the slight slope down to the water. The soft white foam laps the shore, tumbling over shells and unearthing other treasures. Like soft-edged, green sea glass, cloudy from the salt water, and trails of dark, tangled seaweed. The small sandpiper birds seem even more interested in the light surf, darting into the water and then back onto the dry, hot sand. They seem to be playing a game, happy to cool off together in the water, and then running back as one before the waves get too big. Watching them, I'm reminded of children splashing in the fountain at Tuileries Garden back in Paris on a hot summer day. Each time I go to Paris, I stop and sit for a while by the Tuileries fountain. It's a short distance from the Seine. The landscaped gravel pathways of the garden brisk with river breezes. The air is full of gentle murmurs of tourists in awe of their surroundings, and low conversations by passing French park-goers. It can be busy, but I'm lucky, and I find a seat on an empty bench, shaded by thick hedges and arching trees. This particular Parisian day is sunny and bright, with a few puffy white clouds high up in the sky. The children playing alongside the Tuileries fountain direct their ornate sailboats like admirals, occasionally splashing each other like miniature typhoons. The sailboats amaze me. Their hulls painted bright in tomato red and navel blue, with real wooden decks and tiny, intricately detailed riggings. Some are topped with small flags, or are painted with names like La Sirene, the Mermaid, or L'Hippocampe, the Seahorse. The children share the waterway amiably with their comrades, and the ships sail in graceful, steady circles around the wide, low fountain. Their fashionable Parisian mothers watch, some wearing colorful silk scarves or hats to block out the bright sun. It's late summer, not quite autumn. One of those last hot days when the leaves are just beginning to show brushes of gold against the green, and yellow and orange are still about a week or two away. Light mist from the Tuileries fountain sprays off the sides of its low, white, stone walls, keeping everyone cool. The air is filled with the laughter and happy shouts of the children, mingled with the bustling, brisk business of a nearby crepe vendor who has set up his little wagon just off the edge of the pathway. The delicious smell of melting chocolate hazelnut spread and strawberry jam hangs around his cart, enticing a few passers-by to stop and queue up for a fresh crepe wrapped in crinkly brown paper. The Parisian sunlight is bright, but not as bright as a midsummer day in the high cliffs of the Greek island of Santorini. The sunlight seems to shimmer in the air above the crisp, white architecture of the town below, glinting off of clean, white, rounded roofs and arches. There, it is truly hot weather. Long, cloudless days and clear, starry nights. You could work up a real sweat in the afternoons, hiking up rocky hills lined with olive trees. Luckily, whenever it gets too hot, the Aegean Sea is all around you. You could plunge right in at any time of the day and cool down in the deep blue waters. While floating in its gentle waves, you might look back up at the path you had taken, winding amongst the low trees, and see locals walking up and down, going back and forth from time to time. Sometimes they might be leading friendly gray donkeys, who are often laden with baskets carrying fresh pastas, spices, jars stuffed with pickled squid. The bustling market nearby trades in local wares. It is held outside under the sun every fine Friday. Most Fridays are bright and sunny, and so most days I go to the market. I usually head out in the mornings to pick up fresh fruit, then spend the rest of the day hiking or swimming in the sea around the island. In the Aegean, you could float out in the waves as long as you liked, squinting up at the bright sunlight, rocked peacefully by the cool water. Floating in the waves takes me back to another perfect day, with the same kind of full, bright sunlight. Only then, the water that held me as it lifted me up and put me gently down was not the Aegean Sea, but a canal in Venice. Bobbing in my gondola, the water is aqua, more green than blue. It runs in wide canals and narrow waterways, under arching bridges, past marbled buildings, and alongside cobblestone piazzales. My gondola is a slim craft, made of polished mahogany, with brass fixtures. The cheerful gondolier rowing me expertly through the canals stands balanced at the prow on a thick, red carpet, its white tassels frayed from years of exposure to brackish water. It's a perfect spring day, and the air feels fresh and full of new beginnings. Another gondola rows past ours. This one is made of darker wood, almost black, with ornate silver knobs on either end. The gondoliers greet each other with wide smiles and much friendly shouting. They both begin to row more slowly as they pass each other, chatting in rapid Italian. I catch something they're saying about a party from the night before, and a large fish that someone wore that no one could keep their eyes off of. Or maybe it wasn't a large fish. My Italian is a little rusty. They continue to talk as we glide slowly by. And my gondolier is right. I'm in no rush to get to our destination. There is so much to see of this water-woven city from my vantage point that keeps me occupied. We're drifting past a small cobbled square with green vines that grow up the sides of the stone walls. The buildings around us have wide bay windows, many of which are fitted with stunning stained glass panes of yellow, red, and orange. Seemingly everywhere around us is more exquisite glass, catching the sunlight and making everything twinkle, even in the shade of the tall, leaning buildings and spires. The glass vendors on the street closest to us have caravans full of wares that sparkle and glint back at me, even from a distance. The older woman in the stall nearest to us is wearing a scarf patterned with roses that match her expertly blown glass flowers on display. She notices me craning my neck to look at them and holds out a tray smilingly so I can appreciate them more easily as we drift past her. I see that each rose has its own unique petals and shape, made of glass-stained shades of deep red, blush pink, and butter yellow. It's a breezy, brisk day, and the glassmaker's rosy scarf flutters in the wind. My gondolier finishes his chat with his friend, who rows past us, waving a cheery goodbye at me. I wave back, and my motion rocks us slightly more from side to side. He apologizes for the delay, and even though I tell him it's no problem at all, he insists making it up to me by saving me a table at the most wonderful restaurant in the city, owned by his friend, which serves the freshest squid ink pasta, black with garlic and cream and mussels, with a side of the most deliciously chilled white wine. I am overcome with gratitude, but he waves me off and says, "Just tell them that Massimo sent you." The dinner in Venice that night is one of the best I've had. Sitting outside along another aqua canal, enjoying the handmade pasta, drenched in cream. But speaking of dinner, I must tell you about just one more place. My favorite place in the world to go for a sunset dinner. If you ever find yourself there, let me be like Massimo, the gondolier, and tell you that you have to stop and try it for yourself. High up in the Pacific Northwest, off the rocky coast of Oregon, is another shoreline. It's a very different place from the winding canals of Venice. The sheltered waves of Santorini, the friendly splashing of the Tuileries fountain, or even this golden sand beach upon which we sit now, surrounded by tall, towering pines on the high cliffs above. Washed white pebbles and slate-colored sand lead the way down to the water's edge. The sea is deep here, the true blue of the Pacific Ocean. The waves are louder. The air is fresh from the pines. An unforgettable scent. Breathing in, you fill your lungs with the rich, piney salt air of the Northern Ocean. And breathing out, you almost mimic its sound. Your breath whooshes back and forth, back and forth, like the waves. Often, a soft gray fog will blanket the beach in the mornings, streaked by the pink and golden strains of sunrise. On those foggy mornings, particularly in winter or spring, you might, if you're lucky, catch a far-off glimpse of a gray whale breaching the surface, a spray of salt water erupting into the air as it comes up to breathe. If you know where to go a little further down this beach, there is a restaurant. It's small, and you might miss it, standing as it does halfway up the hill. The back of it, nestled in the trees. Mostly, only locals go there. People who know how to find it down the winding redwood roads. But once you do go there, you'll never forget it. The back wall, up against the trees, is made of craggy pine wood, and the remaining 3 sides are open, with small tables set up against the wooden railing. You can sit facing west, looking out over the rocky cove, with a generous, unobstructed view of the sunset over the ocean. One night, I stopped there for dinner. It was the end of summer, and on any other day, it might have been foggy, or raining a light rain that you might hear pattering on the restaurant's roof. But this crisp day began with only a hint of cool, gray fog in the morning. The kind that makes you want to sip your coffee out on the porch. The rest of the day after that was clear and sunny. In the early evening, I walked along the pebbled beach and up the little hill to get to my restaurant. More of a quaint wooden shack, really. I got my usual table right in the corner and put in my regular order. The kitchen sent out fresh bread to start, warm and soft on the insides. It arrived just as the sun began to set. Vivid red, fiery orange, and cotton candy pink colors streaked the pale blue twilight sky over the rush of the dark blue ocean. The white pebbles of the beach seemed to glow in the fading light, framed by the evergreen pines stretching out on the edges of the scene. I watched the sun sink slightly lower, and then a little lower still. Like the waves pulling away from the shoreline, the vibrant red and gold light eventually washed out into pale pink and then purple gray. And just like the waves returning, color eventually returned to the sky in the form of the deep blue of nighttime, washing over the pale blue of twilight. The stars came out with a silvery glow, just as the string lights inside lit up gently on the restaurant deck. The bulbs cast a golden glow over the knotted wood and the clatter of hot meals being carried out to grateful tables. The gentle hum of conversation from the other diners faded into the crashing of the waves. An almost full moon hung high up in the sky, shining silver down on the water below. The sun had set, and there was a bright, clear evening ahead. A warm, delicious dinner awaiting me, and all the time in the world to enjoy it. As I sat there, watching the stars spread out across the sky, enjoying the pleasant heaviness of a warm meal, I started to feel drowsy. As I began to nod off, a wave of gratitude washed over me. Gratitude for the wonderful variety of weather and landscapes I have experienced, and the magnificent beauty of the world we live in. As I basked in this warm feeling, I began to feel my eyelids sink lower and lower, and my body ease into rest and comfort. Soon, I was asleep, enjoying the most beautiful, pleasant, comforting dreams. As I hope you will too, after listening to this story. Good night. and sweet dreams.